You're listening to Zero Hour, a Scarlet Rhapsody podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of Zero Hour. We are going to talk about LA Comic Con, the con formerly known as Kamikaze.
And Stan Lee's Comic Con. And Stan Lee's LA Comic Con.
So LA Comic Con have been having this funky identity crisis. I think earlier this year they wanted to go with LA Mega Fan Fest or something, but they stuck with LA Comic Con, and a wise decision by the convention organizers. Yeah, I like LA Comic Con as a title. I think we could stick with it. And also, LA Comic Con took place in the Los Angeles Convention Center last weekend of October, so during Halloween weekend. It was, I would say that they actually took up more space in the LA Convention Center than previous years.
That's pretty sure.
Yes, and not only they had all of South Hall to themselves, but they also took some of the concourse meeting rooms on the 400 level.
Mm-hmm.
If you've attended AX, this is where they had the stadium seating type room and a couple of their workshops and panel rooms, so they actually took over that area, and they also took some other of the downstairs concourse rooms as well. So it's definitely a convention that's been expanding. We attended all 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and let's just go throughout the con day by day. Alright, Friday. So Friday, we drove in from the South Bay to the convention center. Did you feel we had any issues finding parking?
No, that was easy. No one was there.
You got a point. Friday is always... Oh, here's the thing about LA Comic Con is that every Friday, this goes every Friday, even if they have someone big and what have you, it's easy to find parking because no one really goes there on Friday.
Yeah, the thing about Friday is most of the guests aren't there. There are no panels, so all you really have is a dealer hall and whatever they're doing on the main stage, which was mostly cringe on Friday. So what it leaves you with is, if you just want to go and shop, it's a very light day to do so, but don't expect to do any of the other cool stuff you could do at a convention, especially this one, considering the guest lineup that it had for this year.
Right, even with the autograph booth, it was damn near empty on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that I wanted to visit, they weren't coming in until Saturday, so it's got nothing to do but shopping, I guess.
Yeah, Friday's not a strong day. I really don't recommend going on Friday at all. I don't even know why they have it.
Unless you want to shop.
Unless you want to shop, then yeah.
Yeah.
The vibe I got from Friday, it felt more like a preview day than actual convention day, if that makes any sense. We only had, the dealer's hall open and whatever's going on main stage, and I kind of felt okay, that's shopping day, get whatever you'd like to get from each booth at your most coveted item, even though there's not... LA Comic Con doesn't really have a reputation of having, exclusives, but they do have that Hot Topic booth, and they were all sold out of their exclusives, I would say, by the end of Friday. So I think that was, the only hot ticking item I would say that was in the dealer's hall on Friday.
Yeah, basically.
But even then, there wasn't really anything from the Hot Topic booth that was really calling to me, so have to do a kind pass on that.
Well, most of it was just some Funko Pops and a couple of hats or something, right? It was nothing really...
Mostly Funkos.
Yeah, mostly Funkos. So unless you're one of those insane collectors of those things, there's not really any major draw even on the exclusives for the event, which aren't actually exclusive to this event, but exclusive to events like LA Comic Con, because you can grab those at other cons too.
I mean, you'll see things in various booths that says Comic Con exclusive, but that can be almost any con. That's where I got my Star Wars Rebels Thrawn Funko Pop. Even though it was a convention exclusive for Celebration, I still saw it at events like these. So you can also find Comic-Con exclusives at this con as well.
Yeah, coming soon. Swamp Castle Comic Con.
Yep.
Exclusive. Funko Pop.
Alright, so you guys actually did see something on the main stage on Friday. Do tell.
So Friday main stage is, like I said earlier, was completely cringe. The first thing that I stumbled across was and I will use the term very loosely, comedian trying to do nerd comedy, which turns out with brilliant jokes like Dragon Ball Z has a lot of filler. Sometimes I just put on the episode and then I go outside and do my laundry and can mow my lawn, and when I'm back in, the filler episode's finally over and I can watch Goku finally throw a punch. And it's just wow, got that joke from 1994, did you? I mean, it was just a lot of stuff like that, and I was this guy sucks, and the only reason I didn't go up to the stage and heckle is because my badge said press on it. And so I feel that if you go and heckle a comedian while wearing a press badge, that's probably grounds for getting your press revoked. But man, everything inside me just want to go up the stage and start yelling, "You suck! Get off the stage! Let anyone else who's funny up there, please!"
Well, seriously, it was really freaking terrible. Like, I'm even looking at Jared like, wow, he's in so much pain. And look, here's the thing. Let me put it this way, okay? If I wanted a nerd comedy, I just go check out Twitter. That's it.
Yeah, there's ways of doing nerd things. Most nerd jokes tend to be like memes and stuff on Facebook or Twitter or what have you. And that's about as far as it goes. You know, you're going to have someone's going to put a... Shoot, my mind just went blank on any kind of memes right now. But the point is, what you get in these jokes is not really funny humor. You should have just gotten a standard comedian who might have one or two jokes on stuff. For example, Adam Ray is a comedian who used to work at Universal Studios as Wolverine, as their walk-around Wolverine guy. So, you know who has some really good jokes about, you know, being Wolverine and dealing with people at theme parks and other nerdy stuff? Adam Ray. And I know Adam Ray's a bit higher tier than whatever the loser they had on stage was, and he's probably too busy to go to a Comic-Con, but I think if you asked him, he might actually do it. And there's a couple other comedians who fall in that category where they have some background in something kind of nerdy-ish. And they could do stand-up properly and actually be funny. And this guy was just terrible. But it's okay, because he was followed up by an equally terrible improv troupe. Which was hurt even worse, because the night before I saw a good improv troupe. So now I'm sitting there going like, well, I just saw a good improv troupe, and now I'm seeing a terrible improv troupe, who are also trying to do the whole, like, we're gonna make this like a video game, so someone name a character, someone name a weird item we need to find, and it's just like, oh god, shut up.
I mean, look, there's a silver lining. At least you achieved the improv troupe balance, you know, a little nirvana, if you will.
Yeah. But it's one of those things where you never heard anyone in the audience laughing. You saw people walking away from that area as quickly as they could, to a point that eventually we just left and went to, I think, the Bluefin booth so I could just have Gundam therapy.
And then along the way, you actually came across a booth that's actually helpful to you.
Yeah, I came across a writer's booth. So there were things like that at least it did allow me to go to booths that made me happier, but it shouldn't have been terrible stuff like that on the stage in the first place.
Yeah, I was with a group of gals, and we were, like, listening to the, comedy that was on stage, and we were like, can we just bring back those vaudeville, like, canes where they just pull people from off the stage, because that was just our general moods. Like, okay, get these people off the stage, yoink.
Dude, all of you should have gotten the stage and, you know, hauled him out.
However, after the terrible comedy, and before Tenacious D, there was the Geek So Chic fashion show, which I sat there in support of one of our members here who was a model on stage.
Disclosure, I was modeling for Elle Hoffer Design. I was actually brought in as a backup in the event any of the models would drop out, and dropouts do happen. So they had me in a Princess Leia themed outfit for the fashion show, and the designer for Elle Hoffer, she was trying to promote her Padme Amidala line, and then and hey, I'm the daughter of the group, yay. I was actually looking at the Padme line up close and personal. She had the green dress where Padme is hiding her pregnancy. One of the gals was wondering, like, oh, where in the Star Wars prequel trilogy was this dress in? Like, oh, it's this green Senate robe. They also had, like, a capelet based on her episode 1 senatorial gown, and has a nice fluffy faux fur on it. It's like, oh, this feels so nice. And they also had one based on her Battle of Naboo outfit at the end of episode 1. So she was there to promote her Padme Amidala line, and I was token daughter.
Now, I'm not a fashion person, so I will just kind of lay down a couple of my thoughts, and then I'll let everyone else who knows more about fashion than me talk. For me, I saw a lot of Harry Potter stuff that all blended in together. I saw a lot of Star Wars stuff that all blended in together. I saw some attempts at Marvel. That was nice.
Still blended in
a bit. And overall, I just was not impressed. There was nothing there that I said, oh my god, I want that jacket or what have you. Although the Black Panther beanie looked kind of comfy. But I'm not really...
That was by Mustard Brand. They had mostly male type of outfits.
But I'm not really a beanie person, but I had a lot of friends who were. Like, I probably would have bought that for one or two friends back in the day, but not anymore. I have no beanie friends right now. But other than that, I'm like, nothing here even remotely is cool to me. There was a shop we saw in the dealer hall that was selling, like, jackets based on different characters and stuff, and I liked a lot of those jackets.
Oh yeah, they had like, I forget whether it's faux leather or real leather, and they were just jackets based off of various characters from Marvel and Star Wars.
They also had some Overwatch characters there and a couple other video game characters, I think.
And it was really nice quality, too. You were talking about jackets that were, like, being sold from $250 and above, and it's, like, really great quality, and there was even a Rocketeer-themed jacket.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this is so tempting, but I'm like, I'd rather save my money.
They also had one that was very similar to, but not exactly like Star-Lord's jacket that I really liked. And I liked that stuff, but the stuff on stage just made me go, all right, it's generic-looking clothing. This appeals to somebody. So now I'll let the people who actually know more about fashion talk about this.
It's really hard for me talking about this as a contestant because of my association and participating in the fashion show, but what would you guys would like to see seen up on there? Because I know when we were in the car, we were discussing like, there's a lot of Harry Potter, a lot of Star Wars. We need some variety in here. What would you guys like to see?
Something more than just the t-shirts and pants. A little more ingenuity would be nice. A little more creativity, and some of the, to me, like just some of the costumes up there felt like just throw in, just literally just tossed in, just based on the color scheme. Oh, this color is probably associated with that color, so this should work. Boom, it's a fashion now. And honestly, that's not how the fashion really works, in my opinion. Like, color is one thing, like the whole design aspect is another. If there was just a little more effort into actually design aspect, that would have been much better. But go on.
I'm with you on this one. It's like I said, like the thing that stood out to me was the Black Panther beanie. Yeah. Like, that's sad when that's the thing that stands out. And you're right, because if you're going to bound, I mean, let's just take, Han Solo, for example. As long as you got black pants and a white shirt and a vest, you're done. You're bounding as Han Solo. Congratulations, you've achieved 3 things you can grab at Sears for like a grand total of $30. You don't need to go to some fancy designer to go and grab pants, a shirt, and a vest. And it's kind of that thing where, you have characters who you could make some really creative stuff for. You could make an awesome looking jacket or something that would be based off of Iron Man's standard red and gold suit. You could come up with that cool design based off of Captain America's, red, white, and blue, traditional outfit. There's things here that you can make some really creative stuff with, but it felt like nothing was really reaching that mark. And then even in the car, I remember we were talking about video game characters. They're like, well, why didn't we see some video game stuff up there? Why didn't we see something, some cool Mega Man jacket, or like an X-type Quard with like a white jacket and like a blue shirt kind of thing with, some design stuff on it that would be reminiscent of the Maverick Hunters, or, something Link-based, because that thing would sell out immediately if you could go and get like, something that's based off of his standard green and brown looking outfit.
And honestly, it really felt like creative cop-out in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're doing this again,
probably. I mean,
okay.
The designers need a place to show their stuff off.
Alright. If that's the case, can we see a little more effort next time? Just actual, like, thought put into it. Not just a color. I want to see some actual damn creativity.
There were two designers I really like their designs, because they did like a lot of like foofy dresses. I know you guys left after Elle Hoffer went up. So one of them was Girl with One Eye, which does Lolita fashions, and she had like the foofy Lolita veils. Probably not, because they were the group right after us.
Oh, maybe that's right when we were leaving then.
Right.
Yeah. And
then they also had designer Daddy, who does like cosplay dresses of Disney princesses, and he's best known for like the transforming types of dresses. He didn't have any of the transforming type dresses out there, but he had Amber Arden as Snow White and his wife as Princess Aurora. Although I think it would have been much more awesome if he actually had someone just go up there and do like one of the transforming dresses. Just seeing that in person, because those videos have gone viral, and I think it would have been cool to just kind of see the transformation up close and personal.
And that goes to what, like Stan was saying, about lacking that kind of creativity, that extra little spark. And yes, showing off a transforming dress, even if it's an older design, just to show people like, oh, by the way, we have dresses that do this, would be enough to make people go, oh, whoa, that's cool, I like that. It's like 2 in 1. That's awesome.
Deb, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I have to agree with both of these guys. It was pretty lackluster in the beginning. I honestly really enjoy Elle Hoffer stuff. I've always did, and I really wanted the cardigan for sure. But other than that, I really wanted something more. I thought it was going to be more video games, honestly.
So, memo to designers out there, let's see some video game stuff on the stage next year.
Yeah, because there's a lot of interesting directions you could go, and let's try some like headwear. New kinds of hats might be kind of cool, or scarves, or any other kind of like simple accessories that might stand out a bit more and not just feel like the standard jacket, shirt, pants, or blouse and skirt combinations we were seeing.
Also, I encourage any designers who might have something that they'd like to show off to also sign up for Le Geek So Chic, like, because I follow like a lot of like local Southern California nerd fashion Instagram accounts like Darling Army, and they do aprons like themed to Disney characters, Marvel characters, most recently Steven Universe characters. They do like the kimono style Lolita dress for Steven Universe characters, and I think that was really interesting, and like I'd like to see more of that kind of creativity and kind of like just broaden the horizons of like what we can see on stage in a fashion show type of setting. So just a memo for next year. Okay, anything else on Friday, or shall we transition on to Saturday?
I think we could move into Saturday. There really wasn't much going on Friday, like we said earlier.
Okay, so on Saturday, we pulled into Kensha Hall, which was a very interesting parking situation. Kensha Hall, coincidentally, was where LA Comic-Con, back when it was known as Kamikaze, that was where it took place in its first year.
That's where I got to meet Lloyd Kaufman for the first time.
And if you attend Anime Expo, this is where the autograph sessions were held, and the Artist Alley. And I think we parked in the same section where the autograph table was for Dan Salvato.
Yeah,
I kind of had to do some math there because I did a photo shoot like with using like one of the walls because the lighting was actually really nice inside of Kensha Hall because they had like that bright white fluorescent Kmart light in there.
Man, did you hear that, Deb? We parked on a historic landscape.
Dan, where Dan Salvato's autograph table was. I actually kind of like just mapped it out like, okay, if this was here and that was there, like, oh wow. Deb actually parked in the area where Dan Salvato had his table.
I think he'd appreciate that.
Yeah.
But this was the most busy day, and we were lucky that we got a spot in Kensha Hall versus LA Live or something like that, where it'd be twice as much in a walk.
Dude, this was like, what, 10 a.m.?
Yeah. We were lucky we left early.
Yeah. God.
And I really do recommend that. Leave early. Even if you're like, oh, there's no panels I want to do until 2 o'clock, or the guest I want to meet isn't there till 3. Doesn't matter.
Get out. Leave your room. Okay, yeah. Kick up your card keys. Now! Go! Now!
Do it now!
Because, I mean, worst case scenario, you can hang out in the air conditioning of the LA Convention Center and wait for your whatever you're waiting for.
Mm-hmm.
But Saturday was the big day for us, because that was the day I had to do my 2 panels, with Stan as co-host on one and Deb as co-host on the other. And that was actually a lot of fun. The first panel I did, I believe, was Mythology and Final Fantasy, which is always a great panel. I had to modify it because I keep being told weapons are boring, monsters are interesting, so I adjusted it to have more monsters, less weapons, and then I got a question about one of the weapons I removed from it. So I was like, well, there you go. You just can't win. Unless I make it a 2-hour panel, and I don't want to be talking everyone's ear off for 2 hours about Final Fantasy and its connections to mythology, because I think everyone would get bored after about an hour and 45 minutes. I'm like, no, the last 10 minutes is really good. I'm going to talk about the blitzball and how it relates to the old Aztec sport of that Aztec basketball prototype sport they had. But it's probably just coincidental, honestly. I think it's actually more related to rugby and soccer, much more rugby, because of how you smack each other for the ball. It's very much a rugby playoff thing. But everyone liked it. There was like artists in the audience who decided to draw me while I'm talking. So
and you guys had a full audience too. How did that make you feel for like a first time slot panel?
It always seems to be one of those surprises when I'm at a comic book type event, when I'm doing video game or anime type material, because you never know. You really don't. You could get people really excited about it, or you could have everyone distracted by a shiny object. And so to actually have a video game themed panel that drew in a big audience like that made me very happy. And I'm like, okay, well now I know there's an audience for video game stuff at LA Comic Con. I'd love to go and add more video game related content to that event, because video game panels are the most fun for the panel listing I currently have. I've been even thinking about, while preparing for next year, what new video game panels we can add to the listings. So, yeah, I was really glad for that, and the artist who really enjoyed it and drew me, I was like, oh, cool, it's the first time everyone's ever drawn me for... I mean, other than I think my brother did for one of his art classes, but for the most part, no one's ever really drawn me. So that was pretty cool. The second panel was Make Mine Mecha, which got a few new slides in there, including a slide dedicated to the doozy bots, because I have to.
You absolute madman.
This is the result of probably a lot of drugs, and it was a really terrible usage of the SD Gundam designs in a really bad American cartoon that I think is aimed at, like, 4-year-olds? I don't know, but it's ridiculous. I didn't have the clip to play because I just wouldn't have had enough time to play it anyways. Mm-hmm. But showing people a few screenshots makes people go, wait, what? And that is exactly the response you should have. So that was fun. The audience liked that one. Yeah. Not as big of an audience as...
Oh, no, this is like a fraction of your Final Fantasy.
Yeah, a fraction of it. And I think that's the thing, is that there's not a huge place for anime at these type of events, which is fine. We still had a good audience. People were coming up to you afterwards asking you a bunch of questions about different stuff you were talking about.
Mostly G Gundam stuff.
Yeah, G Gundam stuff.
Yeah, but I think... excuse us. Anyways. I think for the next year, I think we're just gonna have to replace it with like a video game, now that we know, the video game panels actually freaking work.
Yeah, it was a huge surprise, and that's the thing, is you never know until you actually do a panel at a con like this, because I think prior to this, I think we only did like a Power Rangers panel or something, and they got a pretty decent audience, but, this was two very different types of panels that we haven't done at LA Comic Con for sure, that got a really, one got a great response, one got an okay response, and that allows us to know, and then we can, even when we submit next year, say, hey, the Final Fantasy panel was loved, and I have more stuff. There's always more stuff. I still have a bunch of Japanese mythology to have to get into, and I want to get the Quillin in there at some point, so I can talk about Kirin, which is based off of Quillin, which there's a legend that says a Chinese emperor actually captured one and had it as a pet.
Oh, you're spoiling your panel for the next year.
I know. I feel bad.
I know.
There's more to that story, though. There's more to that story.
Seriously, the host of the panel spoiling his own panel.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
A little too late for that.
A little bit of Asian mythology will be showing in one of the stories I freaking love, because I love when a historical figure owned a mythological creature. I've always loved that, because I'm like, okay, now I got to figure out what animal that actually was that the guy owned. As many of the mythological creatures actually find their basis in nature, because if you see a rhino, that's going to freak you out, and you're going to have to figure out what the hell a rhino is, and that's probably where unicorns come from.
Yeah, to navigate the convention, I was actually using the Fanguru app, which actually does have your panels listed. And with that, I could also provide feedback, and I can give you guys like a star rating, and also give you guys a thumbs up. So, yeah, I thought the Fanguru app was really useful to just kind of like just check in to see what panels I'm interested in checking out, and also leaving feedback as well. And also just sent me push notifications, because I know a lot of conventions are either creating their own app, or they're spending 5 figures to use Guidebook.
But really, that much to use Guidebook?
Yes, it is that much to use Guidebook.
Holy crap!
Yeah, it's like 5 figures.
No wonder cons are making their own apps now.
Mm-hmm. So Fanguru, I just a piece of feedback. Like, I thought it was very helpful in just helping me just plan my day, and also to leave feedback as well. Because there were actually a few panels I was kind of curious about, but a lot of them were just kind of overlapping one another, like DC Bombshells. There was a room Q&A, which was in the workshop area, but just didn't really have any time to check those out. And I know you guys found the video game room. How did that make you feel?
Alright, so...
Ouch.
That was not listed on the Fanguru app.
Okay, so...
That is a big ouch.
Yeah, it's a huge ouch, and let me give you a little bit of context. So, we noticed that, I think we all around, Friday afternoon or Saturday morning, we noticed that, somebody was putting up, a Super Mario, these cutouts, right?
Yeah, these cardboard cutouts with no sign or anything, and we're like, oh, okay, whatever.
I guess, because...
We just shrug it off and
Yeah,
go on our merry way.
Yeah, because kids love Super Mario. I guess that's the idea. And then, Saturday afternoon, past 2-ish, past our panels,
Yeah.
all of it. So that's a late afternoon. We start noticing a sign that says game room at, Concourse Hall. I'm like, what? Game room? The friggin'... And then we go to Concourse Hall, we go inside, turns out World 8 has been hosting a game room there since Friday.
Which would have been nice, because there wasn't a lot to do on Friday, and I would have loved to have just sat in a game room with basically no one else other than, you two.
No, it's a huge ouch, because I know the World 8 guys, Daniel and those guys, they do some tourney streaming there too, but dude, they had, your average fighting games here and there. It's mostly a fighting game, to be honest,
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the fact that, oh my goodness, I feel so bad because what they told me is that they got screwed over. The Con and Fangru, even none of them decided to promote their gaming room.
Yeah, it wasn't on the website, or at least I didn't see it on the website. It wasn't on the Fanguru app, and I don't think it was in the program guide thing they gave us either.
Not even a program guide. So those guys are screwed over royally.
Yeah,
and
that's pretty rough.
It's rough, and they were having right at that moment they were having a My Hero Academia game contest, which nobody really played because the tourney was more or less canceled. Because let's face it, when you don't have people coming in, that's what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, you actually need people to play in a tournament to have a tournament.
Yeah. Thankfully, they were having a Smash tourney on Sunday, so that covers it. But, no, yeah, this was, huge injustice. World 8 guys got screwed over badly.
Yeah, they should have handled that a lot better, because I think that could have been a popular location, based on the fact that I did a video game panel and it was a full room, so I'm getting the feeling there were some gamers there who would have liked to have had a little more to do on the gaming side of things.
Yeah, they didn't have to go out and just literally put up a cardboard cutout Mario and just be like, hey, here's our gaming room.
They'd use some sort of advertisement. That's the best they got.
That's the best they can. But if the con itself did a little more for them, yeah, that would be nice.
Mm-hmm.
So that sucked. Oh man, but the game room itself was pretty decent. Really roomy, maybe a little too roomy. But they had Mario Kart racing, Smash obviously, Street Fighter, Tekken, Dragon Ball FighterZ. Yeah, they had pretty much a basic multiplayer game you can do. So there's that.
Alright. I know probably the low light of Saturday for me was Haunted Paranormal Investigators.
Oh man,
yeah, the BuzzFeed paranormal investigation panel. Oh my goodness, where to begin where this went wrong? Well, a couple of years ago, they actually did have an actual paranormal investigation panel that was done by Southern California Taps.
They did it, and there was a different group another time as well, both of whom had some spirit photography, they had some EVP work, and some cool, and some really, really creepy stories and stuff. This one was hosted by, one guy who was kind of twitchy and weird, and two chicks who may or may not be insane.
Yes, it was hosted by Ryan Bigara, host of BuzzFeed Unsolved, Mackenzie Westmore, Face Off, Amazon, which is an Amazon Prime series, and The Bay, and Karen Rontowski, Paranormal Karen, and Psychic Stand-Up Comic.
Yeah, she was thrilling and hilarious.
What I expected out of this panel was just kind of the same kind of okay, I want to hear what your stories are in investigating haunted houses. I want to hear just some EVP. I just kind of want to hear things what do I do if I feel this kind of vibration or sensation in an area? What is that supposed to mean? What are some signs that there might be something spooky lurking? and just kind of how to go about it in a scientific and logical kind of manner, which what I liked about the previous year's panels. And what this panel turned into was Ryan just kind of feeling all awkward, because I knew he wanted to talk more about like his experience, and the two other girls were just making just really bad puns and just really bad jokes, and they tried to be funny in telling their stories, but it just came off as being really awkward, so it just didn't really sit well with me. It's not what I had expected. Like, granted, the room was filled to the brim, and I was just kind of like just sitting there for like the first 15 minutes just thinking to myself like, oh my goodness.
But we weren't the only people to walk out about halfway through. But no matter what, it gets that stage when you have someone telling a story about how their dog told them not to enter a spooky house, so they didn't. You start to go, that's a dog, right? And yes, dogs can warn you about certain things. Dogs do have a danger sense. This is true. But she wasn't taking the dog to the haunted house. That morning she woke up and her dog told her not to go to the haunted house. That's the level of person here. If you've seen the beginning of Ghostbusters 2 and Bill Murray's Peter Venkman is running that TV talk show with psychics, and the quality of the psychics he's talking to on that show, that's what we're looking at for the most of these people on this panel. It's that level of like, and then my dog told me the world will end on December 31st, 2022. And it's like, oh, wow, well, that, if you gotta trust your dog, Dogs know. They get the direct line from God. God whispers to dogs, dog is God backwards, so obviously there's a connection there.
And I'm still curious about checking out Ryan's work on BuzzFeed, but at the same time, I'm like, I just kind of don't trust going to any of these paranormal investigation panels in the future, because it just kind of feels like it's taking on the popularity of all these people who call themselves psychic investigators, but they're really not.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty easy for basically anyone to say, I went into a spooky house and I felt weird inside there. Ghosts are real. Versus actually taking the time to put out the effort. And, you have some of the organizations like TAPS or some of the other, because I know there's a couple other in like New England and what have you, where a lot of their stories are like, oh yes, we set up all our electronic equipment, and then out of nowhere, every single thing shorted out. And they're all connected to generators, and there's no way all our wires could have failed at once, and they all failed at once. That goes more in the category of like, okay, well, that's a bit more weird, and that's a little, not normal. But these weren't stories like that. These were stories like, I was talking to the woman about the haunted 22nd floor, and then the elevator randomly opened. Okay, that happens. Elevators can do that. Maybe someone hit the button, maybe it just needs to reset itself, maybe someone hit the button and then was like, screw it, I'll take the stairs. Or maybe it was one of those ones where they got in an elevator earlier, and then another one still came down because it just sometimes that'll happen. Or maybe a little kid ran by and hit the button. Or any number of other things. They could explain that, not the haunted floor was beckoning you forward. It's like, oh, come on.
So, here's the thing, okay? One thing I noticed is that all those three people, as soon as she announced the first person saying, oh, from BuzzFeed, you should just stop right there, because BuzzFeed is not paranormal anything. The only thing paranormal about BuzzFeed is all those, like, clickbait it generates. That's it.
Yeah.
So, you should just stop right there. Okay, this panel is garbage, hosted by clickbait. Let's move on,
I feel sorry for the guy from BuzzFeed, mainly because the other two were so out of their brains that, like, he seemed to, like, genuinely care about this and was, whatever BuzzFeed Unsolved does, and I haven't watched any of their videos, at least it seems like they're trying to be, like, more legitimate, although I feel they're probably closer to Ghost Adventures than they are, TAPS. But, at least he seems like he genuinely has his heart in this, and he really seems to care about the subject matter, versus the other two who just seem like they're crazy. But
one of them is just like an actress / reality TV show person.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's a.
And when you have your job title as psychic stand-up comic, what does that really mean?
Do you stand up comedy in front of a ghost? I mean,
I feel like she just ends up sounding like Deanna Troi from Next Generation. I sense extreme hostility from the audience, and just shows the audience throwing rocks at her.
Ghost rocks.
Get off the stage, you suck!
It's all
I sense Thank you, Counselor Troy. That was very useful information.
adult girls booing at her. Get off the stage! I didn't come from Afterlife to watch this.
Casper's like flipping her off.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, I came in wanting to give them a benefit of the doubt. I don't like the idea of, well, I didn't know who was hosting it, so I was expecting a proper paranormal investigation team. So when I heard who these people were, I was like, you know what, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. You know, I'm going to do this. It took, what was it, 15 minutes in, and I think I texted everyone going like, I want to kill myself. It's the only way to escape this panel.
Then you can become a ghost, and then you can boo her.
Yeah, and I can boo her as a ghost, and she'll psychically see me, so it'll be great.
Yeah.
And I think, it must have been about halfway through, we just threw our hands in there and said, screw it. And I think a lot of other people were walking out too, who I think had the same expectation as us, of going like, okay, they're going to talk about real stuff. They're going to show some spirit photos, or play some audio, or... Look, I'd even take clips from their shows where something weird happened. Like, there's an episode of Ghost Hunters, where they're on I think it's the... No, it's the hotel that the Overlook is based off of from The Shining. There's an actual hotel that Stephen King stayed at where weird stuff happened to him, and it helped inspire that story. He was just drinking a glass of water. He sets a glass of water on the table, and the glass like cracks in half. And they got it on like it's there, and it's a wider shot of him on the bed, and you hear snap noises like, what the hell? And then they can close enough the camera, and like you can see it right there. Just from no reason, the glass just cracks, just appear in the glass. And it was like, okay. That's difficult to explain. You can explain many things that happen in these shows. They explain many things that happen, saying, well, that could be noises of ghosts, but your pipes are also old, and that could also be creating the noise. Hard to explain what causes a random glass to just crack apart when it's just set on a table. So, if you have footage of something like that happening, that'd be great. That'd be something I go, oh, that was a cool little video. Okay, you guys are a little more legit, even though your titles would make you seem like you aren't. But no, this is just three people who kind of believe in ghosts, two of whom might be crazy, and there was no meat on this bone. It was just an empty waste of time. Now, if you're a big fan of BuzzFeed Unsolved and you want to see Mike, or whatever his name was, talk... Ryan. You want to see Ryan talk? Then that's cool. Look, I'm not gonna... If you like that show, that's fine, I've gone to panels featuring YouTubers as well. I've seen, the Video Game Historian, and I've seen... James Rolfe, and I've seen Doug Walker back when he was a thing. So, I've seen these people before. I'm not going to go and say you're not allowed to go watch your favorite YouTuber, even if it happens to be a, BuzzFeed Unsolved guy. But I will say this. If you're going to make a Paranormal Activity panel, can we please have either A, actors from the Paranormal Activity series, in which case go, oh, I misinterpreted the title of this panel. Or 2, actual paranormal investigators who have at least some evidence type stuff they could bring out that you could then talk about and show us, because man, some of those EVP things scared the crap out of me. And I wasn't even at the place where it happened. It was just hearing them going like, okay, I'm getting a little freaked out here. That's a bit much. And I missed that, and I want that versus what we got.
Anyways, so after that panel, I ended up just kind of wandering around the autograph alley. And there was one of the actors from Steven Universe, Jennifer Paz. She had a booth there. I actually been following Jennifer Paz's career since she was in Miss Saigon in 1995 at the LA Amundsen Theater. And when I just found out, like, oh hey, she's in Steven Universe, I had to check out Steven Universe. It's been a while since I ran into Jennifer Paz, since she did Road to Saigon back in Little Tokyo. And this is my first time seeing her in several years, because I would always see her after her shows, because I've actually seen a couple of her stage shows prior to being on Steven Universe. And lo and behold, she actually remembers me. And he's like, yeah, I remember you. We met after Road to Saigon, and we had a conversation about Miss Saigon stuff. Like, oh my god, you remember me. So that just kind of felt very endearing. And apparently, my dad has also mentioned that and Jennifer and I are, distant cousins. And I asked her, hey, do you know, these people in Chicago? Not giving away too much of my family information. He's like, yeah, I think we are cousins. Yeah. So just kind of, just really cool, just taking selfies with her. She also had her husband there, who also records music, too. So I also said hi to him, because I also follow his Instagram. Anthony Fedorov, I believe his name is, and he was also a finalist on American Idol. he wasn't listed as a guest, but he was just helping Jennifer, like, just kind of, like, to sign autographs, and I said hi to him, like, yeah, I follow you on Instagram, too. It was like, and he also felt special, too. What I ended up buying from that booth was, it was, like, this fanzine of various Lapis Lazuli fan art that she compiled into one book, and she signed that off for me in addition to taking selfies on my camera, because I was cosplaying as Saber that day. It was really sweet talking to her. There's kind of a bit of a line for her because she doesn't really do, like, a lot of guest appearances at cons. I mean, I was really lucky to just kind of have, like, a 20-minute conversation with Dee Dee Lynn Magno at Kraken Con a month prior. So, like, yeah, met Pearl September, and I met Lapis Lazuli again in October. So that was, like, the one person I was really aiming to get an autograph of. I was just kind of, like, just wandering around the autograph alley. They had a couple of other kid show voice actors there, too. A lot of them were charging for autographs, so I was just kind of, like, just sort of perusing through. Did any of you get anything signed by anyone, or did you guys meet anyone, or...
Couple of them.
Okay.
The one that I want to get, the main one, was Jen Cohn, who voices Farah in Overwatch. And meeting her was... Alright, let's put it this way, okay? So Farah in Overwatch is ex-military, like, serious, like, straight edge, you know, just everything is serious with her, you know? Like, her tones are serious and what have you. Jen is the most, like, just ray of sunshine. She is so happy to see people, and she's just full of energy. Like, just meeting her was such a wake-upper, because, like I said, I see her as Farah, you know, from Overwatch, and there she is. This is Jen Cohn, you know. It's like she's like, oh, hi there. It's like she's just smiling and just so happy to be there. It's just, even though she was a bit late because of the LA traffic, of course, you know, but dude, it's amazing, you know. It's a little bit indescribable, because, you know, just to see just to be there, you know, meeting your fans, and she's genuine about it. She's actually genuine about it, and we went on to talk about it, and I even talked about how every time I hear her quote, you know, "Justice reigns from above," I get paranoid because it's an aerial assault on all my team. So, no, meeting Jen was absolutely amazing. Thank you, Jen, for signing my my Overwatch copy. Keeps building up. I need a bigger room at this rate. The one that I didn't expect to get is Jonathan Liplow. I don't know how I think that's how I pronounce it. He's a new addition. He voices Wrecking Ball, aka the hamster wheel. Hamster monster, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hamster ball of doom. Like, it's kind of weird. You can tell it was his first time at the booth, because he was like, oh, it's a cash only. And it's like, okay, maybe there's a, you know, ATM. Only after I get the cash and go back to his booth, he realized, oh, you could have Venmo'd me. It's like, oh, jeez. Oh, whatever. It's like a $3 surcharge. I don't care, okay? But, man, like, you know, he's pretty chill guy. You know, he's talked about, like, his roles and stuff, what have you. And then I think his helper was into the game more than anything, because we were talking about how Wrecking Ball was the new Hanzo. Long story. But yeah, nah, he was pretty chill. Actually, he was feeling bad about not thinking about Venmo earlier. He actually gave me an extra copy of his autograph.
Oh,
yeah.
That's nice.
No, Jonathan was just such an amazing person, and you know, I got a whole new lot of respect for him.
And Jared, you have to actually talk to one of the Glow wrestlers.
Yeah, it's always nice running into them. I watched their panel last year where they talked about, you know, the show, their thoughts on the TV show, their thoughts on, you know, their actual show, and even their cruises they did. And it was kind of cool to see them have a booth. It was always nice talking to them and just kind of telling them about, you know, being a little kid and loving wrestling and having a mom that was not allowing me to watch wrestling, so I had to try to sneak wrestling. And, you know, the Glow was one of the ones that you could used to be able to catch on like a Saturday morning. So it used to be after cartoons, you would have, depending on your channel, you'd either have Superstars, I think, on one channel. WWF Superstars, I think, was on one channel, and the other channel, I think, had Glow. And it was just like a thing. Like, wrestling would just be on at like 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock in the afternoon, or not the afternoon, but morning on Saturdays way back when. And then eventually got moved to like an evening slot, and then my mom had complete control over the TV, so that was not going to happen unless we were finishing up some other show and she wasn't paying attention. I could watch like the first 10-15 minutes of an episode of Glow, or I can't remember the night show for, was it Raw in the 80s, or did Raw start in the 80s? This is probably Raw for the
No.
WWF.
Raw didn't come until the 90s.
What was their night show then? I know the day one was like Superstars.
God, I forgot what the night show name was. Superstar definitely was there, but yeah, it's slipping my mind right now.
So yeah, there was whatever the WWF equivalent was, and then when I actually had my own TV in the 90s, then it didn't matter. But Glow was already off the air by then. But I could still watch other wrestling. But it was always nice talking to them. They're such sweet people, and some of them are way shorter than I'd expect them to be. But then I realized, like, yeah, they're doing so much acrobatic type stuff, and most people who have a gymnastics or type background tend to be on the shorter side because there's less mass to move around. So it's still kind of cool seeing them, and I like the fact that they're out there and there's still a bunch of fans for this show that I remember having to have discussions with my friend Robbie going like, no, it was called Glow. And he's like, I've never heard of this. Like, it was gorgeous ladies of wrestling. Never heard of it. They all had the cheerleader, and you had like the Black Widow, and you had the army chick, and you had the farmer daughter, and they were actually a tag team. You had the two, and one was hotter than the other, and that was my... Look, the point is, Robbie, really, Robbie? It's like, Robbie's like, no idea what you're talking about.
Boo!
I'm like, and this was the 90s. I couldn't just go, okay, hold on, let me go to YouTube real quick. Okay, there we go. I found a fight between Sally the Farmer's Daughter and the Black Widow. See, no, I can't do that.
See, aren't you glad we live in the days and years of technology?
Yes, now I can go and look up a random Glow fight and show people.
Yeah.
It makes me feel... Because then you can see their stupid little raps and stuff like that they used to do, because, 80s.
Yeah. But if I'm not mistaken, not that far from the Glow booth was a women in wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they actually had an exhibition match.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they did. 4 p.m. It was between... Oh, God. This one lady that looked like Charlotte Flair early years. Versus Beast. Oh my goodness, she was freaking huge, and the name Beast just fits right on there.
The chants, man, it's so good.
Oh yeah, everyone was like Beast, 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 and of course Beast won with double powerbomb. You know?
Damn.
Yeah, no, she powerbombed her opponent, and then deadlifted her, and then powerbombed again.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, dude, it was amazing. Yeah, shout out to women in wrestling. That was good stuff.
And to conclude Saturday evening, Jared and I discovered that Scum and Villainy Cantina actually had a booth in the dealer's hall. And like, oh, hey, they were actually serving alcohol here. And they actually had like themed alcohol drinks. I was like, okay, let's just give this a try, just to kind of like just wind down the night. And then you guys eventually met us up at that booth.
Yeah, a little too late though, because by the time we got there, the bar's closed, Yeah,
it was already closing time, but we were just kind of like, hey, let's just check this out. Just kind of like, just check out just various drinks, like, themed after, like, nerd stuff. What did you have, Jared? Do you remember?
It was the something or other alter ego. I have it on my Instagram, but I'd have to find it. But I did take a picture of it. It's a something or other alter ego.
Yeah, it was very well mixed. I think I also had the same thing
you had
too,
the
right?
goblin something goblin.
Yeah, I had the something goblin. They were pretty strong. Well, mine was pretty strong.
Well, yours was a Midori mix kind of thing. It was pretty decent, actually. Yeah. A little sip I had of yours, I'm like, oh, should have gone for yours. I liked mine. Mine was fine. I took a kind of a risk on someone. Was like, that seems like an odd combination. I'll try that. And I liked it, but I think I liked yours was a bit more smoother in my opinion.
Yeah,
mine was
I'm a Midori fan. And then we actually talked to Zach, the guy who owns Scum and Villainy Cantina, and we actually did some conversation with him. Because anytime, like, there's, like, a nightclub that's kind of, like, dedicated to nerd stuff, you get very kind of about it just based on really bad experiences. But this guy was totally legit. Like, you can tell, like, he had, like, a lot of passion in putting this project together, creating, like, an actual bar in Hollywood that is, like, themed around the cantina from Star Wars. But he's also willing to have nights where you have, like, different, like, theme nights going on. He even has, like, a drink based off the Holy Grail from Indiana Jones, where you can keep the Grail. And I'm like, as a Saber cosplayer, I need to do this.
Though you have to specifically request for it. You can't just order the Holy Grail. You must see it, point it, and say, I want the cup of the carpenter. Which is pretty awesome, actually, the fact that they
So
do that,
good.
and that they have spare ones, because I assume they had, like, one there, and someone did that, and they're like, okay, now we're gonna get a new one of this, because I have to give it to the guy. That was too awesome that he actually called for it.
And actually, because I was cosplaying a Saber, and it was, like, the end of the day, and then, like, he's like, yes, we have the Cup of Christ here. I'm like, the Cup of Christ? I've been looking for this Holy Grail. I must make my wish. But, like, oh wait, I can't make a wish. My master must make a wish. So, Jared was cosplaying, well, he was more like bounding as a Slytherin.
Yeah.
And what was your wish for the Holy Grail, now that your servant has found the Holy Grail?
Oh, same thing I'd always want. Pocket dimension solely for myself, where I don't have to ever be around anyone else. And it contains as much food as I'd ever need for the rest of my life, every book that's ever been written, and every movie that's ever been made.
Okay, how you gonna watch it without your glasses?
I will assume that it's not a post-apocalyptic dimension, and it's a nice little...
You didn't specify which dimension.
Well, it just turns that scene from Futurama instead. Oh, I can at least read the large print books. Eyes fall out. Thank God I learned Braille. Hands fall off. No!
But yeah, these guys were really legit, and hopefully one day we'll hit up a Scum and Villainy Cantina. I already got, like, Fate cosplayers already interested in, like, just doing a Fate night there.
Oh, I will...
Fate drink night.
See,
Oh,
now
God.
I have to have Jekyll and Hyde. Because no one should be at a bar more than Henry Jekyll.
If you are a Fate cosplayer and you're down for this, let us know in the comments.
It's one of those ones where we're always going to be a bit worried, because when something becomes popular, and a lot of nerdy stuff has become popular, Harry Potter, Marvel, Star Wars, Star Wars has always been popular, but because of that, there's people who want to exploit that, and we've seen conventions, and we've seen organizations that have exploited this whole nerd culture thing. Oh, come to our party, hang out, mix with other nerds. And it's like, these people aren't other nerds. These aren't like, these aren't people who would go to the bartender and try to stump him with a trivia question. Which the guy even said, like, people try to stump him with a trivia question, or he tries to stump people with a trivia question with something, with whatever movie their drink is based from. And I think he gave us a couple trivia questions as well. I can't remember, but it was one of those. Well, because drinks. Let's go for the drinks. Somewhere I can't remember, but I think I got mine right. I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna stand that, regardless of whether or not I did. I totally got my question right, even if it never happened. I'm a Slytherin, so if I said it, it's true. But I like the fact that it was legit, and that they have, like, the little props, and they have, drinks, and they only had, like, I think they're serving 3 or 4 different things there, but they said they had, like, 20 or 30 different combinations from, you name the movie or the series, and they probably have something based on it. So I think that could be a lot of fun. I don't know how much video game related stuff they'd have, but man,
We could ask, he seems legit.
if they have some sort of Legend of Zelda drink, I'm in. It's like, well, yeah, you want a Master Sword? I'll make you a Master Sword. I'm like, make me a Master Sword, sir. I'm drinking that. I don't care what's in it.
Can you imagine a Lana
like-
milk drink that's like a White Russian?
That would be pretty amazing. The one booze drink I've always wanted to have, and I'm not sure if I can.
Ooh,
Because I'm lactose intolerant, so I don't know.
that's gonna kill me.
That's one of those, like, someone else needs to order a White Russian so I can take a hit off it and go, I enjoy that, and I cannot drink any more without throwing up.
Alright, shall we move into Sunday, where we talk about more drinks of the non-alcoholic kind?
Yeah, we can do that. Sunday was kind of a light day for me, so I can kind of get through my 2 big things, and then everyone else can move on.
Mm-hmm.
So, the one thing I had to do was the 80s cartoon panel, for 2 reasons. 1, it's an 80s cartoon panel. 2, the guy hosting it is the host of the Kaiju Kingdom podcast, who I was at his live recording on Saturday, which, not a lot to really report about. It was just kind of talking about the state of the Godzilla franchise, and about King Kong, and some of the upcoming stuff like Kong vs. Godzilla, and what Warner Brothers is going to do with the Kong property, because they're running out of... They can only do 3 Godzilla movies. So it's the one they already did, the one that's about to come out, and then versus King Kong. And then what's going to happen after that, and the speculation. Not a lot to really report there. You can find the episode online, not too difficult. But the dude was, like, legit in terms of his, like, knowledge of obscure older TV shows, movies, and what have you. So it just reinforced something I already wanted to do. That panel was amazing. He talked about Dino Riders, which I love Dino Riders. And they also talked about how expensive the toys were, which means it's in that list of things I need to go to my mom and say, Mom, I know we didn't have a lot of money when I was growing up. You got me a lot of Dino Riders toys, and those were apparently really expensive, as were my Transformers, and thank you. So I guess that'll be my Christmas present to my mom. I'll thank her for the toys she got me when I was a little kid. But we talked about, Inhumanoids and the whole backstory of how those were created. God, I'm trying to remember some of the others. Oh, G.I. Joe Extreme.
Oh, wow.
Extreme Dinosaurs,
Oh,
to a lesser
dude.
extent, Street Sharks, which apparently
Wait, actually, the other way. Okay, Street Sharks was the original.
was original, and then,
Extreme Dinosaurs came in later.
he showed Extreme Dinosaurs. He's like, no one knows what this is, but you probably know the series that spun off of Street Sharks, and then half the audience just yells, "Jossum."
And it's actually kind of interesting. I don't know if they mentioned this, but it's like a little transition. So Street Shark came in the first, right?
Mhm.
And then there was a little in-betweener called Street Shark X, like Dino Avengers. Okay, Street Shark versus Dino Avengers was like that. Okay, and then came Extreme Dinosaurs because apparently, I guess the Dino Avengers crossover worked.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was talking about stuff like that. He didn't say, I didn't know there was like a crossover thing there at first. I was like,
It was a really short-lived one.
He said it was a spin-off, so I was like, okay, maybe one episode they introduced the dinosaurs. But it was a really great panel and a lot of fun. And then afterwards, it's just him, me, and a bunch of other people talking about late 80s, early 90s stuff like Skeleton Warriors, the stupid Pogs cartoon, whatever the heck that was called. It's a real thing, people. We watched an episode of it and felt very, very bad about ourselves afterwards. Oh, the video game and the comic book cartoons that people didn't really know much about, like Ultra Force.
I knew about it.
I watched Ultra Force.
Yeah.
It's the best Avengers ripoff show, Avengers / Justice League ripoff show you could possibly find. He talked about Wildcats.
Oh, Peter Chung, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he talked about, though it never got made, the Youngblood cartoon that was going to be a cartoon.
Oh, jeez, I heard about that, yeah.
Yeah, all they have is like a little chunk that's, I guess, the opening sequence, and it looks pretty legit, but, I mean, like, how hard is it to make buff dudes with guns look awesome, you know?
Well, they already did that with
and an archer.
Well, right, but they already did buff guys with guns with the Ultra Force and Wildcats already. So
that's true.
That's kind of
it was a very redundant show. Yeah. And then he talked a little bit about like the USA Action Extreme Team lineup, with Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, Wing Commander, which is an amazing cartoon, and I highly recommend. Find it, but don't buy the DVD version of it. They effed up the audio, so during the action sequences, the music is potted up too high, so you can't hear any of their witty quips when they blow up Kelrabi, and you're like, I'm sure that was a witty quip, but I don't know what Archer just said right there. Also, Archer is best girl. In all of Wing Commander. Suck it, Angel.
Alright, so anyways, aside from that, I think the one other thing you mentioned about the panelist that really threw me off was he was working on a pro wrestling document.
Yeah, there's one thing he referenced, I think it was after Kaiju Kingdom when we were just hanging out. He was talking about how he had been working on a independent wrestling documentary, and he's still in the process of it. He still has like one or two other California-based organizations to talk to, I think he was saying. But it was really cool. But this guy is super legit, knows all his stuff. He's a really awesome guy. I actually wouldn't mind to do some sort of crossover panel with him. Like, I would love to join him for like a cartoon panel or something. Like, give us 2 hours and let us blow your mind with the obscure cartoons of the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, if it's a wrestling related cartoons, then yeah, that's even plus.
Oh my god. I would love to talk about rock and wrestling. I love rock and wrestling. Get ready for all your favorite wrestlers, none of whom have voices that sound remotely like their voices.
Oh, he get a kick out.
I'm Randy Roddy Piper. I'm gonna get that Hogan this time with my monster truck. Ha ha ha! It's like, yeah, that's exactly what Randy Roddy Piper sounds like. As a
yeah, no, I'm sure he get a kick out. I'm sure he get a kick out of that.
I wonder if anyone ever played that for him, so he would probably bust up.
He probably knows about it too, I'm pretty sure.
I mean, at least Volkov and like Iron Sheik at least had their accents. It wasn't quite their voices, but at least they're trying. It's Randy Popper, not even close. Like the guy doing Hogan is doing an okay Hogan impression, but it's not great. And I don't know why you wouldn't just get Hulk Hogan to voice himself.
Too expensive.
Yeah, Miss Elizabeth sounds nothing like Miss Elizabeth. Andre the Giant sounds nothing like Andre the Giant.
Yeah, what can you do?
What can you do?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's great. I'd love to talk about that. I mean, like, if there's anyone I could team up for a cartoon panel, I mean, he'd be my number one choice, because the dude knows stuff, and it's really weird having someone who knows all the same shows I knew growing up. Especially the weird stuff where it's like, I mean, I'm amazed it would have been out of the purview of the show, but I'm sure he could have gone on a long diatribe, just like I can, about the Cowboys of Moo Mesa.
I watched that, God!
The show is so dumb, but so amazing. Because it's so dumb. So, yes, that was a great thing. It was fun. And shout-outs to him. And if you like giant monster stuff, check out Kaiju Kingdom. It's probably a great show. The episode I was on was amazing. So, because I was on it. That gives it bonus points. But the other thing I did that was a huge highlight for me was going to the Trauma booth, which I really wanted to. I just wanted to see what they had, and I wanted to ask Lloyd Kaufman a question, which, unfortunately, I got there right as he was leaving. But I was able to get the Blu-ray collection of all the Toxie movies, which is huge, because all I have is okay, I used to have Toxie movies. Then I dated someone. Now I do not have Toxie movies. So, years ago, like I said, that one where it was in Kentia Hall, I got a copy of Toxic Avenger, and I got it signed by Lloyd Kaufman on DVD, and I was very happy about that. They now have the Blu-ray set, and I now have that signed by Lloyd Kaufman, and I am very happy about that. And just meeting him just briefly, looking over a bunch of the new stuff they're releasing, because there's a lot of stuff that wasn't even Troma, but they have there, like Maniac, which I'm fairly certain wasn't Troma, but they actually have the original Maniac, which is friggin' cool. Wouldn't mind to have grabbed that. And just talking to the Troma people about, B movies and things like that, and the ones I'd been seeing recently, and things I saw way, way, way back when, stuff they had sequels to that I didn't know they had sequels to. It was great, but I grabbed the one thing that I really had to have, and I got to meet Lloyd Kaufman again, and that was huge. Mm-hmm. And those are like my two big highlights. I mean, other than a little bit of shopping, but we'll talk about shopping later.
Mm-hmm.
And going into shopping, we actually ran into Tommy Wiseau. That was very interesting.
He is weird.
Duh. So, basically, two things. I wanted to get a selfie with him, and also I wanted to get a Christmas present for my younger brother at his booth. So, I ended up just kind of just looking around, okay, I just pointed out, okay, I want to get that for my brother for Christmas. In case if he's listening, I won't say what it is, but you're getting something from Tommy Wiseau's booth. And then I was like, hey, Tommy, can we get a photo? And then he looks at me like, you're going to buy something or what? I'm like, yeah, that's a Tommy I know.
Yes, that sounds about right. That's
sounds
what's described in the book.
If you haven't read Greg Sestero's book, The Disaster Artist, it's an amazing piece of work. I highly recommend getting the audiobook.
It's read by Greg Sestero.
It's read by Greg Sestero doing a Tommy Wiseau impersonation, and you get a lot of the inside, behind-the-scenes look at the room that the movie The Disaster Artist didn't even cover. So
yeah, especially a lot of the personal stuff.
So he's just like the book.
Yeah. Yes, he's very much to the book.
He also, I don't know what kind of cologne or whatever he was wearing, but it had this bizarre, oily smell that I'm like, I don't know what this smell is.
Yeah, it's called New Orleans.
Yeah, it's apparently...
Nolans.
Yeah. It's Nolans by Tommy Wiseau, the new fragrance for men, women, and question mark. But it was just kind of great. It was little things he did that were described in the book, where he has the sunglasses on and he's completely out of it in the morning.
And the Yu-Gi-Oh belts.
Yeah. And just kind of talking to him at 11 o'clock, and he's like, you need to talk to the other people here. They can tell you more about what we have. I was like, you're not here right now. You're still in bed. It's 11 o'clock, and it's just like Greg said, you don't wake up until after 1.
Alright, let's just do a selfie, move on.
Yeah.
And I was cosplaying as a Haunted Mansion maid, and they had some spooky stuff around the dealer's hall that I got some photos with. They had this cutout from The Shining where you can just hold the axe at the door when you have that, whereas you have that famous Here's Johnny scene. Mm-hmm. And you could also pose with Beetlejuice in front of the Beetlejuice hooker house. They had the Ecto-1 car out there too. And also I ran into someone who was cosplaying as Constance Hatchaway, and we just kind of hey, I'm your servant. And that was also a lot of fun too. One of the designers that was at Le Geek So Chic crowned athletics, because Jared's in-laws, they're into running, his brother's into running. We ended up getting a couple things for them for Christmas at that booth. So we did quite a bit of Christmas shopping at the dealer's hall, and I really like supporting independent artists, and I like getting unique gifts. So one of my favorite things to do at LA Comic-Con is getting my holiday shopping out of the way as soon as possible. And this is a great way to just avoid the malls in December, because good Lord knows I like to avoid every major shopping center come December. But yeah, we got a lot of shopping done. Any highlights from any other booths other than Troma? Because I know you picked up something from Bluefin.
I did. They had a bunch of damaged boxes of Gunpla kits, and when I went there with Stand Up, I think on Friday, they had a Gundam X there the original version, not the later version, but the original, which is the one I wanted. And I saw it there and I was like, I'll see. I don't really want to do my shopping on Friday. And then the next day it was gone. And I was like, yeah, of course it is.
Of course it is. You should have...
I know Deb had an experience like that too with, whatever...
It was a Noble Gundam, somebody actually took it as well, so I was pretty bummed.
So they basically took everything and had just a huge pile of other stuff they just wanted to get rid of. And so I was kind of going through it, and one of the things that Stan had found when we saw the X was they had Rambaral's Golf. Which is probably my favorite of the Xeon mobile suits, because the Golf just looks awesome, has those little tentacle whip thingies, and the shield and the spikes on the shoulders.
And a Gatling.
And a Gatling. It's almost like 90s, but it was made in 1978. So 1979, excuse me. So it's a design from 1979. It looks like it should be from 1997, but it's just awesome, and I love it. And they had it there. And then the other thing I wanted, and I talked about Stan about this a while ago, is did they do kits from other series? Because there's certain series I'd love to have a kit from.
And the answer is yes.
And the answer is yes. And I got myself an Arm Slave. I got the Arbast from Full Metal Panic, and that made me very happy. And I'm like, yes, I got my own Arm Slave.
You got the red one, right? Or is it the default?
I think it's the default.
Okay, that's Arbalest, yes.
Yeah, it's Arbast. So I got that, which is pretty cool. And I have a kit of the traditional Gundam. So not only can I have Rambaral and Amuro versing each other, but then I can have Sosuke behind them, just like a sniper rifle or something. Just like, I take winner.
Well, Melissa was a sniper, but you know.
I know, Melissa was the sniper, right?
Yeah.
But I'm not sure what kind. It probably comes with his standard little, shotgun thing, yeah.
Yeah.
But whatever, I just have him in the background going, I take winner.
And last but not least, one of our favorite finds in their dealer's hall was Wild Bill's Old-Fashioned Soda Pop Company.
I've never been so, like, how should I put it? I've never been so root beered in my life until that moment.
So the deal was, if you bought, like, one of their cups, I forgot, it was a Stein cup.
Yeah, it was an old-timey, like, it looks like a small barrel, and it's a big mug.
And throughout the day, you can get free refills on your mug. And that really worked for us well on Sunday, the last day, because then that helped us kept going that day. And we decided to try, like, almost every flavor they have. So, what were you guys' favorite flavors?
You know, what? One thing that surprised me is the one that was, Armadillo or something? Sarsaparilla, thank you.
Yes, I love the sarsaparilla.
That was the first one we got, too.
Yeah. That surprised the hell out of me. It's so light, and it's still delicious as hell, so...
Their standard root beer is pretty good, too, but yeah. I'd rank the sarsaparilla above the root beer, for sure. I think we had the vanilla. The vanilla was great.
Yeah, vintage vanilla cream. That was my favorite out of the group.
And then I think I also had the opportunity to have one of the berry ones. Was it black cherry or something?
Blazing black cherry?
Yeah. That was it. And I had that, and that was pretty good. It's a little syrupy for my taste, but it was still pretty good. But the vanilla, I think, and the sarsaparilla were probably my two favorites.
Yeah, I'd definitely go for their default root beer and a sarsaparilla. My goodness. Oh, so good.
Yeah, it's super smooth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was really funny because we were just kind of drinking like every different flavor like right across the booth because we had nothing else to do that day.
Sunday's a really, really boring day.
And it was funny too because we actually saw someone cosplaying as the Undertaker who was getting a drink there, and then I just kind of just toasted my glass in front of him, and then he toasted my glass in front of me, and he tipped his hat. It's like, that was awesome. That's my highlight of the day.
Now imagine if one of us cosplaying as Mankind. You know, we would.
This is my highlight of the day, just seeing Undertaker going to this booth that looks all like Western and old-timey, and just kind of like just grabbing a drink and just saluting at us, tipping his hat. That was awesome.
Man. But yeah, outside of all the shopping and what have you, I think me and Deb went to the game room for the Sunday for
yes,
Smash 30.
I almost forgot.
Yeah, I know. But that was fun.
That was a really last-minute choice, actually.
But we didn't have much to do, so whatever. But, that was still cool. It
was really fun.
Mm-hmm. I wish their controller conditions were better.
Ooh. Yeah.
Yeah, like there's some of the controllers were broken, so...
No.
Yeah, didn't make it easy.
No, it did not.
Mm-hmm. But still managed to get some things done in the tourney, so, it's alright. It's alright.
As long as you had fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what matters.
Mm-hmm.
All right, wrapping up LA Comic-Con, what are your guys' final thoughts? Let's start with Jared.
So, this year was 3 days I think is a little too much. I know we only went to kind of support you on the fashion thing on day one. It was fine. Day one wasn't a bad day. I mean, okay, yeah, the comedy. But looking around the dealer hall, I got to go through the artist alley and go pick up some cards from a couple different artists. And I was able to just kind of get the lay of the land and just kind of relax and kind of wander by myself, which is something I don't get to do at cons too often because usually it's such a huge crowd. I start to get a little claustrophobic. This time it was chill, so I could do what I needed to do. And I liked that, but honestly, if we don't have anyone in the fashion show or something on Friday, I would just as soon skip Friday. I really liked Saturday. I mean, I liked Sunday. Both days were fine. It's a great event. I'd like to do panels again. That's really my big takeaway from this is I really want to do panels again.
Mhm.
You know, 2, maybe even 3 gaming panels. I think it'd be a lot of fun, especially if maybe we could see who else we can get in on a gaming panel. That would actually be kind of cool. Maybe they'll eventually get gaming guests. Would love to interview people. I have moderated panels before. I am totally worth the hire, I assure you.
Deb, your final thoughts on LA Comic Con?
Wow. Yeah, I actually do prefer 2 days. It was kind of pretty out there that I was like, oh yeah, we did Friday. So yeah, but really I actually caught up with artists that I haven't seen them in a while, and it was good, so I bought some of their stuff. I bought some of the teas at Jasmine Dragon Tea Company.
Good
They're
choice.
They're good.
always
They're great.
always good people, so they always recognize me because we like D&D. So yeah, I mean overall I actually had a good time.
And this is where I'm going to disagree with both of you that the 3 day is fine just the way it is, because if it wasn't for the extra day, I would not have scoured through the entire exhibit hall. You know, because of the one extra Friday, I was able to visit every artist alley, every shop, every dealer's hall, every nook and cranny of it, every autograph session I was able to go to. All of that because I had that one extra day. And keep in mind, Saturday and Sunday we still had some things to do and due to our prior obligation, we needed an extra day, and so 3 day is fine. Any more than that, no. Okay, but 3 days is fine. Having said that, I would love to see LA Comic Con support every aspect of this convention a little more, especially gaming room that you guys were supposed to advertise but didn't. That would have been really helpful, especially on Friday. Hopefully next year they put a little more attention to the gaming room so that, you know, people who want to just chill and play video games, you know, they can just chill, okay? They know where to go. Done.
All right, my final thoughts on LA Comic